Getting rent and property estimates for analyzing a deal has never been easier with using RentCast. As a landlord, I want to assess cash flowing properties as quickly and as accurately as possible. Instead of copying information manually by hand, I wanted an automated way to get property and rental data. This is where I used RentCast to extract data at scale and to analyze deals fast. My name is Ariel Herrera, your fellow data scientist with the Tech and Real Estate channel, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. In this series of videos, I'm going to show you how to get sales comps and rental comps all using the RentCast API. Previously, I also showed how to use property records, so definitely check that out. We will take it step by step so that even if you are new to Python, it will not be overwhelming. My mission with this channel, Tech and Real Estate, is to simplify for you the process of working with real estate data and avoid a lot of the mistakes I made in my 4-year journey. And so I want to help you build a data-driven business with APIs to improve your processes. And if that's exciting to you, be sure to hit the like button so we can reach more people. And be sure to subscribe for new videos every single week. All right, let's get started. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get rent estimates, property estimates, and comparables for both for a subject property. Typically, to do this, some real estate investors hire out virtual assistants to manually record this information by hand if they're not already doing that themselves. However, there's a lot more of an automated process that we can take by using APIs like RentCast. This allows us to extract this data programmatically, be able to analyze a deal, and get ahead of the competition by being able to evaluate these deals fast. So right now I'm on RentCast's home page. From prior videos that I've done, you can use their UI tool to take an address, plug it in, and be able to get RentCast estimate for rent, as well as comps. We've also detailed how to get an API key, which takes less than 5 minutes. Think of an API key as like a password to be able to get the data from the API. An API is a programmatic way to get data, so we're not fumbling and downloading spreadsheets off of websites. Instead, we're using a programmatic way to extract. The first step we're going to do is go to Google Colab. If you're referencing or coming from the prior video that I did on property records, it's going to be the same notebook. And if you haven't already, go to File and save a copy directly in your drive. We're going to use Python to be able to work with this data. In our example that we previously touched, we were looking at a listing in Orlando, Florida. Now imagine that we don't live in Orlando, we haven't invested in Orlando before, so we don't know on top of our heads what the right property estimate would be or rent estimate for a particular address. This is where leveraging APIs is critical so that we are using the right type of information when analyzing if a deal is going to cash flow or not. For this example, we have 5430 Brownell Street in Orlando, Florida. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath with about 1,100 square feet. From our analysis, let's imagine that we know we want to invest in this zip code for this particular bedroom-bathroom combination, and this property looks prime to be scooped up, especially that it's had a price cut too. So what we're going to do is take this address, which we've done in the prior steps, and we've assigned this to a variable called address. If you are new to Python, I have a free series called Introduction to Data Analytics, where I go through how to go from beginner to hero with Python, and then you could take my course afterwards if you really want to become an expert in real estate data. So I highly suggest to check out at least the free version so that you can be proficient in Python. We use all real estate related examples, so it's easy to digest. So in this case, we have our address, and we previously got property records. Now what we want to do is be able to get these estimates. The first one being property value estimate. So what the property currently is valued at. So if we wanted to purchase it or sell the property, we have an estimate of what that number is. I have here attached the API docs that you could reference directly. So going to the RentCast API docs, it's super easy to read. The way it's set up is on the left-hand side, we have our endpoints. In the middle, we have a description of what that endpoint is and the parameters that we could use. We also have on the right-hand side example code. So if we wanted to, we could input our parameters directly here, select what programming language we want to use, which in my case will be Python, and then copy the code to try it directly in Colab, which Google Colab is free in case you're new to that environment. So here we are looking at the value estimate, the property estimate. What is this property worth today? We could see the endpoint here, and that what this API does is it returns a property value estimate, so a single number for that property, and comparable properties, which is information that we seek to have. These comparable listings returned by this endpoint are sorted by correlation, so how similar these properties that have already been sold most recently are to our subject property. So we can either use that sales estimate that we get from RentCast, or we can calculate our own home value estimates as well. We could see below that what we need to pass to our API key in order to get the data is a property address, so a single property address. Property type, which can vary between single family, condo, townhouse, and small multifamily. We also, if we want to get even more accurate, we can input the bedrooms and bathrooms as well as square footage. Towards the bottom, we can get even more intricate by maybe only looking at properties in a certain radius, so say 1 single mile from our subject property. If it's within a certain amount of days old, maybe we're in a hot market, things are selling, lots of transactions for properties. So in that case, maybe instead of a year window, we want to look at maybe the last 3 months. As well, we can filter on comp count to look at anything between 5 to 25 similar comparable properties. Great. So we've just walked through how to go and navigate this API doc. Now let's actually query the API. So going back to Google Colab, we are now taking the endpoint, which matches the endpoint that we see up top over here. And we are going to pass in the address. If you want to get more intricate, like I mentioned, you can pass in the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and property type as well. So let's press play. We are now requesting this data, and we passed in our RentCast API key, which if you haven't done so already, if you go back up top, you could see locals and constants. You run the cell, and then you can input your API key. And if we look at our request, we see that we have text. We have price 323000, which I'm assuming at this stage is the property sales estimate. Then we have some more information on a low range and a high range, as well as comparables. But to be honest, this isn't that easy to read. So let's transform this object into a JSON object and look at our keys. Here we could see our keys are price, the ranges of price, location of the subject property with longitude and latitude, and comparables. What if we want to just see these comparables? Right now it's some long string, but I want to view this in a table with columns and rows. So here we're going to press play, and we transform our object, our JSON object. We're going to look just at comparables, just that key. And we're putting that into a data frame where we have 10 records. So we got 10 comparables back, and we have 21 columns. So the way you would read this is for our property, which is, as we see here, 5430 Brownell Street, Orlando. We can see that this property comes up, and the correlation is 1 because this property is the same exact one. Then we can see property that are similar to it. So in this case, RentCast has deemed 8001 Rose Avenue in Orlando, Florida is a similar property. The correlation score is 0.99, so very close to 1. It's 0.05 in terms of distance, and it was sold 143 days ago. It has one less bedroom than our subject property, but we could see as well that the square footage is somewhat similar, as well as lot size, but it was an older property, 1948. So you may want to see and go look if that property was renovated or not, since our subject property was. Now, what I love about this API is that you're not only getting the estimated price, which is stated up here, but you're also getting comps, so that if you believe that certain fields should be weighted more than others, you can adjust this in your own algorithm as well. Now, jumping more towards the bottom, what if we wanted to combine this data and look at it on a map? So I'm going to quickly press play here so that we can view this information. I'm going to use Mapbox, which if you use the link below, you can get started for free. It's a free mapping tool. So I am going to uncomment each of these. Now that I have both my RentCast key and my Mapbox key, I can come back down, and if we run this last cell here, we could see our subject property in a purple indigo color, and then our comparables in red. So let's pause for a moment. What did I exactly do, and how was I able to produce this chart? So if we go back to our data frame of comparables, we can see that RentCast gives us back the latitude and longitude right here, as well as price for each of our sales comps. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the information for location data for latitude and longitude for our subject property. I am taking the columns that I care about, putting this into a data frame, a dictionary that then gets transformed into a data frame, adding a column called type, and now I have this pretty table with one row that is my subject property. Then I have a second data frame, which is not the subject property, but in this case, the comparables. So for each comparable, I have latitude, longitude, and price. I then take these two data frames and I concatenate them, so I stack them on top of one another, and I pass this into my Plotly diagram or figure, which is using scatter Mapbox. I input my data frame, and for my location data, I specify the columns that relate to latitude and longitude. I then say that based on the price, so what the homes sold for, the comparables, is how big I want to see those bubbles. Then I want those data points to be separated based on type, so whether it's the comparable or it's the subject property. I zoom in a little bit more so we can get more granular of a view, and then I select the title. I use string interpolation. I put in the address, and now we have this beautiful chart that says our address and the property sales comparables. So what we've done here is we've quickly been able to use RentCast to extract rental comps and not only just get the data in a data frame, but also put it on a chart. So maybe we want to have some sort of automated process where we can quickly assess this data in a map, and through this process, we're able to do so. Now that we have sales comps, what about rent estimates? And this is my favorite part, and what I think RentCast really exceeds in, which is their rental comp information. So they look at historical data for rental comps to help you assess what the rent should be for your subject property. So if we go back to the docs, under property evaluation, the second one here that we're going to hit as an API is rent estimate. We could see the description that this API returns a property rent estimate and the comparable properties. So not just a single value, but also those rental comps as well. We are also going to get a correlation field to see how similar these rental listings historically are to the one that we are currently looking at, which in this case is this subject property. Then we can also calculate our own rent estimates if we'd like, since we're getting a list of comparables. It has the same parameters as we just saw for the value estimate endpoint. So now we are going to rent estimates. Again, I have that doc attached, and I'm going to query for my subject property what the comparables are for rent. So if I press play here, we could see again, this comes back in a block of text. And we're going to follow the same exact steps we did previously. So I'm going to run through it a little bit quicker here. We can view all of our keys, which instead of saying price, it says rent, and it also has a range. If we get our comparables, we can put them into a table. we can quickly see that the single rent value that RentCast suggests is $2,000, about $2,000, $2,100 or so. We have 10 records, so 10 comparables, and we have 21 different columns. As we could see, our days old is how long ago these other rental listings were published. So if it's a very hot market, we may want to look at just maybe the last 90 days. As well, we want to consider seasonality. So properties that are rented in the summertime are typically going to be rented at a higher rate than those in the wintertime, since less people, there's less demand at that period, since it's winter, usually colder, as well as during the school year. Now, if we want to view all this data into a map, we're going to do the same thing as we did previously. Take the data into two parts, which is subject property, and we're going to take the comparables. We then are going to stack these two together as a single data frame and plot this using Mapbox. Here we can see our subject property in this indigo color and our comparables. We could look at a comparable rental property that was a lot less, $1,700 for rent, and it was only 3 blocks away. If I had to assume, it probably had less bedrooms, maybe not updated, but we could definitely assess this further by researching this property. And then we also get more comparables to the left-hand side, which all look to be around 2,000 or higher. Maybe this is a newer neighborhood of some sort, so we have to make sure that we are accurately picking these rental comps that are close to being as similar as possible to our subject property. Now, what if we wanted to analyze if our property is a good deal or not? We want to assess our income, what our costs would be, and ultimately if it would cash flow. So by using Coffee Closers, a company that I've co-created to help you find real estate deals in minutes, we use RentCast as well as other different APIs and data to be able to get rental rates. So for the same subject property that we were reviewing, you can see from our tool that it is ADU eligible, meaning it's an accessory dwelling unit. It is zoned for that. So if you wanted to add a mother-in-law suite, convert the garage into a bedroom, what have you, it is legally zoned that way. Let's imagine that we add the mother-in-law suite in the back. We can now be able to increase our rents since we've converted something to have an extra bedroom. Let's put this at, say, $2,300. And we could see instantly that our monthly profit has gone from negative to positive to about $200 a month. Let's also imagine that it's becoming more of a buyer's market. So there's more properties on the market than there is demand. We could possibly get a cut on this deal, let's say 10% below asking, and now we can see quickly how our monthly profit has changed as well. So through this tutorial, you've been able to get sales estimates and rental estimates for a subject property, including the comparables, and be able to visualize it with Python. You could use this code within your workflow to systematize new properties that come onto your radar and be able to quickly assess if they would cash flow or not. Now, if you have questions, I highly suggest for you to join our Tech and Real Estate Facebook group, where we have not only myself, but other experts as well that can help with questions or ways to integrate this data too. Can't wait to see you in the next video. We go over market rental stats as well. See you there.